All right, let's talk about Saturday's Dodger game, Dodgers versus the Rockies. But before we get to that, let's go ahead and let's talk about the topic of the day. So I saw it was either yesterday or today that they came out with MLB is trying to include the stats from the Negro leagues into the record books of MLB. I understand what they're trying to do, and quite frankly, I think trying to address the fact that we had parallel leagues based upon race years ago is one of the historic injustices that is especially I think brought to light the segregation of the times, the fact that you had two phenomenal athletes not being able to play one another, let alone the fact that you had the players in the Negro leagues really playing in third rate conditions, I'm sure. But that notwithstanding, being denied the opportunity to play against the other best baseball players in the world. Definitely having them in the players for the Negro Leagues in the Hall of Fame, get all the recognition and the history books, and particularly from the Hall of Fame, uh, uh, I think is fantastic, and a lot of the other ways to recognize them. But in this case here, I think trying to do what they're doing on how they add their stats in their record books, I think it sells short what the impact they had on it. Because I think to young people, they might get the impression that the Negro League players played as part of MLB. It might give that impression. And the way that they're trying to go through the statistical sampling and comparison to make it appear as though they are that they played one another and that there is some level of comparison. I think it's going to have uh, the the it's not going to have the impact that they want it to have is really what it comes down to. I applaud the effort to recognize everything that those players accomplished in that time in those considerations, uh, um, and the impact that I think that spotlight brought to the country to say, hey, we have uh, phenomenal young men who such as Jackie Robinson and so many other players who were officers in the military, in the Army, the Navy, so on and so forth, fought overseas, and were nothing short of phenomenal players. Yet at the same time, when they can't participate and play because of these ridiculous segregated policies, just absolutely stupid. Um, and eventually we found our way and integrated. But at this point in time, as I look at the way that we're trying to put the stats into this context, again, I think it almost normalizes what that was as opposed to highlight what eventually we got right. And we've been working to improve that ever since. So, again, I'll be interested to see what other people think of this. Love to hear your thoughts. Anyhow, let's get to tomorrow's game. One thing, so as we come up here, my model has the Dodgers winning with a probability of winning at 70.4%, and the ESPN model is at 70.3%. So, and I don't use, whenever our numbers come out the same, I don't like to use it to justify my model because I don't know how they came to those conclusions. The next big thing I would point out is we're showing, much as today's game, 6-3, definitely a bit less excursion up here if you were to watch Friday's analysis when it comes to the Rockies' scoring probability. And a lot of that's just got to do with the fact that as we go to the next slide, uh, for the Dodgers, we've got Yoshi Yamamoto going. So he's got a bit more of a track record this season with 54 innings pitched. As opposed to today's game, so I'm going to do this on Friday. For Walker Buehler, I think this is his fourth game, and obviously hasn't been pitching the number of innings that you would expect as he's recovering. I'll also point out that we've got, uh, it looks like, overall better starting pitcher over here for the Rockies as well, and pretty much the same lineups as we often see with, in my opinion, looking at the top three, maybe the top four, but the top three, those are the guys who are going to be getting the most amount of repetitions at bats in games. And when you look at that, you've got Ryan McMahon over here, who's really having a fantastic year, as you can see by hitting right around 300, nine home runs. But you compare almost any other than the Yankees, you compare the top three, and if you extend to the top four, it's hard to see anyone competing with the Dodgers on that. Dodgers are well above 500. Meanwhile, the Rockies, division rival, are well below 500. We're playing at Dodger Stadium tonight. I actually think that helps uh, Colorado, if you ask me. Definitely a lot more of a pitcher's park, and I would imagine that for most of their pitchers, as you can see, that bullpen playing in a more pitcher-friendly park is probably something that they look forward to, even if it's not their home park. So then, as we come over here, uh, one of the big things that I can see both in tonight's game and Saturday's game is the Dodgers expect to get some walks. Looks like the model is showing that it should be about pretty close. Dodgers a little bit more, definitely got a higher end. I always like to focus on the walks because those are just free bases, absolutely free bases, showing the Dodgers having lower strikeouts, which again is also uh, uh, another indicator of at least potential to get runs. Meanwhile, we've got a high strikeout total, potential strikeout total for the Rockies, and so I realize that in today's age of baseball, a strikeout is just another out. But the reality of it is if you put the ball in play, at least you got a hope of an error, hope of advancing the base runner, and so being able to get those walks, reduce those strikeouts, just generates a lot more possibilities for things to go on there. And then, of course, when you come down here, when we start looking at the overall power numbers, when you look at the home runs for the Dodgers, and then we bring that on down here to the OPS, Dodgers in this game, this matchup, predicted OPS of 930 for the Dodgers versus 720. These types of matchups are really common with the Dodgers just because they have such strong hitting, such strong pitching. And again, these are all probabilities, as we've all seen. Some of these things go the other way, because that's what makes baseball fun. It's got that probable nature to it as well. But again, anytime we have a division game going, and I always think that the Rockies are probably better typically than what their record suggests they are, just given the fact that it's difficult for them to recruit top level pitchers, and if they develop them, it's hard for them to keep them. It's really got to be hard to develop them to say, hey, you're going to the biggest home run park in MLB. Good luck, kid. So I imagine if you're a younger player, you might just, if you're a younger pitcher, you might be thinking, I'm not going to sign just yet. I want to wait another year and maybe get drafted if I'm out of high school, out of college. If I'm out of college, hey, is there any way I can sign as a undrafted free agent or something? I don't know how that goes, but I'm sure that is, yeah, getting the MLB is exciting, but it's hard to pitch it in Denver. And you can see it and just how difficult it is for them to get and retain that top level pitching. So anyhow, it should be a fun game to watch. If you got any questions or comments, please post. Thank you.